Greenlights by Matthew McConaughey. Summary from 4-Minute Books written by Luke Rowley and read to you by Andy Mayes. One-sentence summary. Greenlights is a fascinating autobiography of Matthew McConaughey in which he takes us on a wild ride of his journey through a childhood of tough love, rising to fame and success in Hollywood, shifting his career, and more, guided by the green lights he saw that led him forward at each step. Favorite quote from the author. I believe the truth is only offensive when we're lying. Matthew McConaughey. Matthew McConaughey is a strong believer in what he calls green lights. In the movie business, a green light is when a studio allows you to go ahead with a project you've been working on. It is a sign that you can move forward and keep going. They are all around us. It can be a surprise gift or maybe a chance to start over. If you don't get your green light, you can even make your own. He knows that not every plan will work out how you want. It's about how you deal with the setbacks. In Greenlights, we get a sneak peek into the mind of Academy Award-winning actor Matthew McConaughey. He brings endless wisdom and unconventional advice on how to live life with greater satisfaction. If anything, it's a fun memoir for one of Hollywood's most witty, thoughtful, and unusual A-listers. Let's see how much we can discover from his life in just 3 lessons. 1. McConaughey's early life was full of tough love, popularity, loneliness, and career changes. 2. Success and fame began for Matthew at film school at UT Austin. 3. His life and career took him all sorts of places, but eventually he settled down to start a family and even found his stride in the film industry. Are you ready to be inspired by the life of Matthew McConaughey? Let's get learning. Lesson 1. In his early years, McConaughey experienced tough love, popularity, loneliness, and career changes. Matthew grew up in Texas in a family with pretty unorthodox ideas. His parents had a very combative relationship, but in the end, they did always love each other. They had 2 divorces and got married 3 times. Matthew also had a few beatings of his own. One of these times was just for saying, "I can't." On another occasion, he got in trouble for telling his brother that he hated him. He did learn 2 important lessons from these incidents, though, that you shouldn't hate and you should never say you can't. Perhaps not too surprisingly, he was popular and did well with the ladies in high school. But after high school ended, things quickly changed. As a member of the Rotary Club, Matthew spent a year in Australia as an exchange student. Upon arriving, he was in for a shock. He thought he would be spending his time in Sydney, but instead, he ended up in a tiny town, Warnervale. He experienced a kind of isolation and loneliness that he never had before in his life. But he is grateful for this experience for what it taught him. He learned that he needed structure and challenge in his life. He became a vegetarian and practiced abstinence. This time, as hard as it was, forced him to look inside and figure out who he really was and what he wanted out of life. Once he was home, he started pursuing law, but he soon felt it wasn't for him. Luckily, he had a friend that read some of his short stories and suggested maybe he try film school instead. He was so nervous to tell his dad, but when he did, he simply said, "Well, don't half-ass it." This was exactly the green light he needed. Lesson 2. Film school at UT Austin was the place where Matthew's success and fame began taking off. In film school, he worked hard but knew he needed his big break. It was a chance encounter at the Hyatt Hotel bar that gave him just this. One night, while visiting a friend who was the bartender, his friend pointed out a guy who was in town to produce a movie that would be shot in Austin. His name was Don Phillips, and he was a fan of both vodka and golf, 2 things Matthew enjoyed also. They drank together for a few hours until they had to be escorted to a cab when Don asked Matthew if he wanted a part in the movie. The movie was Dazed and Confused, and he had the part of Wooderson, a college-aged partier. Originally, Wooderson would only have 3 scenes, but they liked Matthew's look and interpretation of the character so much, he worked for 3 weeks on the movie. Dazed and Confused opened the door, but another film, A Time to Kill, made him famous. The director, Joel Schumacher, wanted Matthew for a smaller part, but he was eager for the lead part of the lawyer Jake Briggins. Schumacher liked the idea, but he knew the studio had someone else. But by chance, the part opened up, so Matthew set out to prove he was the one for the role. He went in front of the studio heads and performed the climactic courtroom scene from the movie. Schumacher told him he would need to go off script to impress the executives. It was a green light for Matthew, and he gave the performance everything he had. 2 weeks later, they told him he landed the part. he was instantly launched into stardom.
Now, before we get into lesson number 3, if books like this one inspire you to live your best life and accomplish your dreams, you should download our free list of the top 10 most motivational books ever written. After summarizing over 1,000 books, we handpicked these 10 best of the best and turned them into a visually stunning, easily skimmable PDF. Use it to pick your next great read and stay inspired en route to your biggest goals. Simply enter your email using the link below this video, confirm in your inbox, and we'll instantly send you the list, free of charge. Alright, let's dive into lesson number 3.
Lesson 3. McConaughey's career and life have taken him all over, but he settled down with the family and found his place in the film industry. Soon, Matthew was the king of the romantic comedy and living the high life with money, women, and motorcycles. But once again, he wondered, what is all of this about? He says it was his existential challenge, and he believed he was up to the task of figuring it out. This is when he landed a role that helped him center himself again. The movie was Reign of Fire, and he would be playing an apocalyptic dragon slayer. Matthew dove into the character. He lived on a ranch in West Texas for 2 months to strengthen his body and mind. Some of the things he did included running barefoot in the desert and tackling cows to train. After the isolation and intense training, he was feeling pretty battered, but inside, he felt strong. Every time he felt he needed more out of life, he looked for a green light to follow. One of these came in the form of a dream where he was on his porch with all of his children. It reminded him of how he had always longed to be a father, one of the only things he was certain about in life. He knew it was time. Soon after, he met the one, Camilla. At this time, he made the decision to alter the course of his career drastically. He told his agent that he wouldn't be doing any more romantic comedies. This was a big career risk, but he knew it was what he needed to do. He was out of work for 2 years, but in this time, he became a father. Soon enough, Hollywood came calling again, and he landed new non-romantic roles like Mud and Magic Mike. The so-called McConaughey's arrived.
Hey, this is Nick, the founder of 4-Minute Books, and if you found this book summary inspiring, then I'm sure this next one will motivate you even more to make your dreams come true. Click through and keep crushing it.